RV Newbie first impressions. Wow.
We brought the trailer home. It was empty. Dang it, you were on to me.
Let's review the last 6 weeks. Everything that we went through to get to this point that we are today. Now, this is just going to be an overview, and we'll probably detail some things in other videos.
That's right.
Hello, I'm Sandy.
And I'm Ed.
And this is General, the totally awesome water dog.
And we used to live in northwestern Pennsylvania, but for the last 19 years we've called the Outer Banks of North Carolina our home, met a lot of great people and know a lot of great people in both places.
And everything was going wonderful until the business we were both employed by was sold and we were both let go. We knew that now was the time to make some changes and start living our dreams.
So we bought a travel trailer to see America and hit the road to see our wonderful country and all the good people in it.
We hope you'll join us on our journey of discovery. The next adventure is just over the hills.
Are we recording?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, here we go. Downsizing.
Oh, you're following my finger.
Last empty, brought the, oh. Yeah, I'm used to you pointing when we drive. Where do I turn? All right, let me take my eyes off the road for a second and I'll look at your finger and get back to the road. All right. I'll wait here.
When we brought the trailer home, they had installed a Recurve 3 weight distribution hitch system on the truck, and we used that to bring the trailer home. And of course it was empty at the time. And there was no wind that day, very little wind, if anything, at all. So it was an uneventful ride. It was a really good ride. So that was our very first experience with hauling a travel trailer. A very good experience.
It was a good experience. It's a lot of fun.
You just don't have anything to say about that one. It's okay if you don't.
I thought it went well. Downsizing. That's the whole house, everything?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we had accumulated 5 years of stuff, and so we wound up having to figure out what we were going to store, what we were going to give away, donate, or just throw away. And it was quite the exercise, and took us a good course of a month to do. But it went well, and our experience was we used a local Facebook garage sale site, essentially, and found that far more productive than yard sales.
For selling stuff, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you post the stuff, they get up with you, you set an appointment, and they come by and it disappears. It was good experience. So essentially, also too, when we were going through everything, was trying to figure out what to take. I mean, we're on a shoestring budget, to say the least, and what can we salvage from the kitchen, everything from plates to cookware, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And always with the idea of weight in mind, and durability.
Right. We were very concerned about the weight. So when we downsized, we did. We actually downsized too much. When we got everything in the trailer, I decided to wait until we got everything in the trailer, and then I started weighing everything to figure out where we were at. And we were allowed to bring in, I think, about 1,400 pounds worth of cargo. We ended up coming in around 700 pounds. So only about half of what we were allowed. But it was good because everything else was already gone by then. So we couldn't turn around and, bring more stuff in with us. So that was really good.
I agree. It was good. Really no regrets on the stuff we didn't bring. Family, heirlooms, things like that, and other things went into storage. So the things we did get rid of, I'm fine with them. I would rather be at where we're at, not stretching the limits of the payload, than trying to bring all this stuff with us. I mean, as it is, we brought this air fryer that when you're trying to take it out of the front basement area is like watching someone deliver a child, but
it doesn't fit in there very good. It's big.
But otherwise, we were very conscientious about weight, and I think in the long run, that analyzing of what we were going to bring has really paid off.
Mm-hmm. When we brought the trailer home, we put it in the driveway of some friends of ours. Thank you very much, Holly and Jamie, for letting us do that. Our homeowners association where we live did not allow trailers at all, so we did have to find a different spot for the trailer. So that's where it was sitting while we were doing our downsizing and trying to move in, and we did a bunch of upgrades. Can kind of go over
upgrades. We installed ceiling fans, like many of the RVs in general. The travel trailers just have one small fan in there that, I mean, it's really a joke. I don't know what air it would move. So we found one online, and I know there's the fantastic fans out there that everybody loves, but when we looked at those and the price of them, there was just no way. Found the only game in town was some knockoff, and they were like $55 a piece. I'm sorry, I don't have the information.
I think it was Hangs, but we'll have a link in the bottom of the description.
And so we have two vents. We were lucky the used trailer came with the Max Air covers already over the vents. The challenge in the bathroom, it's a universal fan, so you have to go over the fixture well, make adjustments, because it's intended to fit practically any vent opening. So, and no instructions, so you do have to kind of understand what you're looking at. I mean, it's a 12-volt motor. It's pretty straightforward. And so we adjusted the housing, got it in the bathroom. Not much of a problem at all, just hooking it right up to the existing electrical provision for the fan switch itself. On the one in the kitchen, there was no electrical source, so we tapped into the kitchen light, ceiling light, and that works fine. The only difference with it is the ceiling fan won't run if you don't have the ceiling light switch thrown on the panel, which is, who cares? That's no big deal.
And he did install a WeBoost system, which requires an antenna on the top of the travel trailer on the roof, and that was very interesting because we're both very afraid of heights, and getting up on a ladder on this roof was out of the question, so we enlisted the help of another friend. Thank you, Brian.
Yes,
for
Brian.
helping us with that
Thank you very
one.
much. That, you wouldn't think it, but really that's a long ways to fall into a cement driveway. That's it. Brian has nerves of steel. I couldn't do it.
But the WeBoost has been very helpful. It does work really good, so we might talk about that a little bit more later. Okay, so cleaning and vacating the house.
So we hired somebody for that. That cost some money. Carpets cleaned. That was about it. Left and forgot that we had to turn the keys in and had to FedEx them back. The biggest problem was getting rid of 5 years of stuff. And I mean, we started out just like anybody else, but we've been in that place 5 years, a 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath townhome. I don't recall the square footage, but it's large. And Sandy had a car, I had my truck, and so there was a lot of things to get rid of and really think about what you wanted to keep. And I think that there was a lot of good that came out of that, not just for the weight in the trailer, but for the catharsis of shedding all this stuff. It really feels good. I mean, I don't need all this stuff. I can get by with just my laptop. It's a much more simpler life, and I'm not trying to, sound facetious or anything to anybody else. I know we're living fine in a nice little camper, but I was very wasteful. I was very wasteful. I could spend forever, how many gallons of water doing dishes, and now that we're aware of the use, it's amazing what you can get by with.
Absolutely. Another challenge that we faced in this transition was because we rented our house, we had to be aware of the dates, and we had to choose a date that we would be moving out. We had to make sure we gave notice, the proper notice, that we were going to be moving out at the end of the month. And then by the time we gave that notice, we had to make sure that we met that timeline and we're out by the end of the month. So we only made it by 2 days. We left on April 28th, and we thought we were going to be out of there April 20th. So even when we were close and thought we had it, it still took quite a bit longer than what we thought it was going to take.
That's true. I can remember a time in March where we thought, I had projected around April 20th. And at the time, it was, you fool.
Yeah.
You really think it's going to take us that long? But it did.
It just definitely takes longer than you think it's going to take. Another little issue that we had when we were doing the upgrades for the RV and everything, it was me, actually. I just had this thought that possibly the weight distribution hitch that the dealer installed on our truck was not of the proper weight rating. And when we checked it out, we found that we were right. So we had to return that hitch, and they gave us our money back. There wasn't a problem with that. But we had to order a new hitch and then install that ourselves. And it wasn't, we ended up getting the Recurve 6, which was a better unit than the Recurve 3 that they had originally installed. And there wasn't really any issues with the installation itself. The only problem was Jamie and Holly's driveway has this dip right in the middle. So we were not able to hitch the truck up to the trailer when we were installing the hitch. So it ended up being a little lopsided, but we didn't find that out until we actually got here. We didn't find that out. So that was a little bit of an issue. I don't know if it caused us problems traveling this distance or not. But
I think initially it went fine. Sandy forgot to mention when we pulled it out of that dip in the driveway and into the cul-de-sac where it was relatively level, then we checked and thought we had it as best as we could have it. Another thing was we were so overweight. We had used the fresh water, and so we had gray water and black water tanks were full.
And fresh water. We had 2/3 of a tank of
And
fresh
fresh
water as well when we pulled out that day.
And we were going only about 20 miles to the dump station, but now we were at a situation where we had a lot of weight in the trailer, and there was some uneven wear on the top of the hitch, which in my search turned up excessive tongue weight.
And it definitely was.
Which would have been the case.
We were way over on tongue weight with those 3 tanks.
We stopped once. I adjusted the whole system, going over all the bolts and making sure everything was tight. And they needed tightened. And that was only about maybe 45 minutes or so into it. I might have misspoke before. But then we finished the rest of the trip to our location, our first state park stay, and I didn't have the opportunity to stop. It was just interstate all the way, no rest stops, nothing, and it just kept getting more congested until we went through urban areas until we got to the state park. So I was really nervous about that. Now, it didn't loosen up that much, but I noticed that it had shifted a little, and it's just, we'll have to just keep getting it until the bolt stretch or whatever needs to happen in place. But we'll do that on the way out at the dump station. We already looked at it. It looks relatively level, and it's a place we feel like we can set that we have the right to be here. I mean, we're paying to be here, so.
And they've got room for like 4 trailers at this dump station, so we won't be in anybody's way.
And the park's practically empty. So
yeah, there's nobody here right at the moment.
Except construction vehicles.
So as far as the first travel day, it was a very, very stressful first travel day. A lot of things we would have liked to have done during the trip that we weren't able to do, and it just added to the stress a little bit.
It did, but overall, I think it went well.
Yeah, we did our first dump station, and shortly after leaving home, we emptied all of our tanks out, and that went very smooth. No accidents. I know a lot of people report little spillage accidents on their first time, but we didn't have that, so that was pretty awesome.
We were blessed. We just knocked it out.
Pretty awesome. But when we did stop to empty our tanks, I had to get inside the trailer for something. And when I got back out, I didn't put the handle over top of the door. So we were going down the road, and I looked in the rearview mirror, and I'm like, oh my God, I forgot to put the handle in. And we were actually thinking about pulling over, but then it's like, well, it doesn't stick out that far, so maybe we'll be okay to the next stop. And we knew we were going to be stopping in another 20 or 30 minutes, so that wasn't too bad. Yeah. But also once we stopped, of course we didn't know this, but Ed had, when he got into the back of the truck, all our sewer stuff is in the back of the truck, so of course he had the tailgate down on the truck, and he forgot to put it back up, so we made that second section, that 20 or 30 minutes with the tailgate down, and luckily we didn't lose anything. So just a couple goofy things that caught us on that first travel day. It was pretty funny.
Well, I think that the key of not losing anything in the truck is the way I pack the bed of a pickup truck is everything's so disorganized it gets tangled together and nothing can fly out. I mean, it's all essentially just one big glob.
It's all holding each other piece is holding the other ones in. Setting up camp for the first time. The campsite that we were in, of course we moved since then, we moved across the street, but the very first campsite that we pulled into, we didn't have any trouble. He backed it right in. We do have a backup camera on our trailer, and a backup camera on the truck, of course, but that doesn't help you when you're parking. The backup camera on the trailer was installed by the previous owner, so that was kind of a little bonus on our part, but that was very helpful, so we didn't have any issues parking and setting up.
No, it wasn't too bad. I used to haul house trailers back when I was a young buck, but that was a long time ago and a totally different length. Whether something popped in like never learning how to fall off a bicycle, I don't know, but It did. It went very smooth pulling in, and we set up. So we just grabbed this site. Well, we moved across the street after it vacated, and the reason we did is because we finally when we first got here, we found a site looked good enough to us, and we put the trailer in. After being here a week, now I think we're really starting to look. So we came over and looked at sites. We walked the whole camp area looking at vacant sites, looking for how level they were, where's the picnic area, those kinds of things.
Is it gravel or is it dirt? Is it going to get muddy? Is it going to be okay? Yeah.
And we chose this one, and you made the comment that it felt like now this is camping because
this feels more like a regular campsite than the other one that had the raised patio on it. That just it was very awkward for us dealing with going down the stairs and going back up the stairs onto the patio.
And I'm sure a lot of what all we've talked about is just old news to a lot of you seasoned travelers out there, and there's too many of them to name right at the moment, but thanks a lot of you that have the other YouTube channels. You seasoned folks have helped us a lot.
We've watched a ton of them. Yes.
But, and maybe everybody goes through it, but I thought it was interesting how we went from one, just put the trailer in there, that when we moved it, now we paid attention to how to choose a site.
Mm-hmm.
And so, even someone as old as I can learn.
Yes, you're so old. So, first impressions about living in an RV. Neither one of us really have too much experience with this. I did do some traveling with my family when I was like 6 years old. We had a Winnebago that we traveled in during the summer, but of course that was many, many, many years ago, and I don't remember too much about it. So our first impressions about living in an RV, of course, we have a smaller kitchen, gas stove where we used to have electric. I think our cooking hasn't really changed. We've adjusted to the small refrigerator. Don't seem to be any issues in that area at all.
No, I mean, it's pretty easy to get used to, and I don't really have any experience at living in one of these trailers either.
And showering in the trailer. Showering in the trailer was a little bit of a challenge for both of us. We had trouble adjusting the hot and cold water, and of course it was very small. But we both were able to take Navy showers, which we've never done before. So by the time we got done, we'd only used, I think, a little less than 20 gallons of water between the two of us, so that was pretty good. But because there's no sewer at this campsite, we've actually been showering in the bathhouse. And neither one of us really have any issues with that either, so that's been working for us real good.
Yeah. Well, the shower in the trailer is adequate. It's I can't get either hot or cold, and maybe it's because I'm trying to conserve the water so much, you know.
Our next campsite has full hookup, so it'll be interesting to see how our showers go when we get there.
I mean, the way it is here, it's too cold, so then when I get it hot, I feel like a sardine bouncing around the side of a can.
Yeah,
and,
it's a little small.
So, but it's not a big deal.
It's doable. It's nothing that we're too awfully concerned about.
Yeah, this is fine living. A lot easier to clean too, pal.
Mm-hmm. And having the world as our backyard, that is pretty awesome. We are sitting outside for hours and hours and hours now, and we never did that back home, and we're really enjoying it.
And meeting other people, and just enjoying everything that we see. We did laundry today. Big deal, right? Well,
It was fun.
we went down into a town, had targeted a laundromat, and technology being what it is, Google shows you, well, this is the lowest occupation rate that when everything's popping there. The most used times and the least used times. I'm
yeah.
sorry, I didn't get that right. So we picked the least used day, and Wednesday turned out to be laundry day. And went down there, 3 machines, fill them up, knock it out. It sounded sort of like I was doing a country western song there for a second. But
So overall, we're doing pretty awesome.
I think
Already.
it's going great, and we're very blessed that it's going the way it is, and hope it continues that way. And thanks for all of you taking a look. Talk to you later.
Bye.